Hey, young bro. Hey, young brother, come talk to me real quick. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question real quick about this sign, though, real quick, before you go. I see you got to go. Now, you see that sign right there? What nationality would you be according to that sign? The Negro Americans, right? Now, next to that, you see it says the tribe of Judah, right? Now, I'm going to show you something. Have you ever heard that you're from the tribe of Judah before, young brother? No. What's your name? Nathaniel, nice to meet you, Nathaniel. I'm not going to try to hold you long. Read that again in Isaiah 1 and 3. I want you to pay attention to something, because have you ever thought that you were Israelite before?
I had a feeling, yeah.
You had a feeling, but let me ask you this. How many of our people does that kind of thought run through their mind? Not a lot. Now watch this. I'm going to show you something. This is prophecy that we're reading out the Bible, all right? Read that.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
So those are two not very wise animals, an ox and the ass, right? But it says the ox knows his owner, and the ass knows his master's crib. Meaning if they don't know anything, they at least know that, right? Read.
But Israel does not know. My people does not consider.
So Israel, the people of God, they don't know who their master is and where they belong, and they don't even consider. Just like I asked you, right? Do most of our people even think about that? Right? Because guess what? Let me ask you something. Our people don't consider where they were because we went through a lot of things that wiped that history away from us. You understand? How old are you?
18.
You 18. Okay, you're a very young man. Now let me ask you this. How much of our history do you know, young brother?
Black history?
Yes, sir. Black history.
They don't really teach that in school. They cut out a lot of that Black history in school, and they put what they want you to think.
You know what? That's a very good observation, right?
Yeah.
They take out a lot of the important part of the history, and then they insert their own narrative to it, how they want you to believe it, right?
99% of the school teaching is slavery. They don't talk about what positive things the Black community did. They only talk about us being slaves.
Okay, I like that. But let me tell you something. Even when they're talking about the slavery part, they still not talking about the heart of the subject.
Yeah.
You understand that? Now, we have these images down here. You see these right here? Now, let me ask you something. Are we the only people that went into slavery on slave ships? No, we were not. You know who else went into slavery on slave ships just like we did? Look at this sign. Now, you heard of Christopher Columbus, right?
Yep.
And you heard of the Spanish conquistadors, right? When they came over here to America, what did they do, young brother? They found land. But let me ask you this. Can you find something that's already belonged to somebody else? Of course not. So did they truly find land?
They thought they found it, but it was already found by somebody.
Okay. That's the history that they tell us, right? They tell us that Christopher Columbus was looking for India. He went sailing westward, right? When they already knew about the Silk Road. They already knew about China, right? They already knew about these places. But they tell us that Christopher Columbus sailed west looking for India, got lost, landed in America, and discovered a land. But you can't discover something that already had people living there. It already belonged to somebody. That means the people who lived there discovered it first, right? So that's just like me saying, it's your dollar, right? And you drop it on the ground. I go and I pick it up and I say, I discovered a dollar. Did I discover that dollar? Because it already belonged to somebody, right? And guess what? That's what happened to the Native Americans and our so-called Hispanic brothers. During this time, the conquistadors came out of here. Now, guess what? They came over here, they took the land, they took and raped and robbed the people. They took all the resources, right? And now, let me ask you this. Do you know what year or what time period that happened? That happened in the year 1492. When the Spanish conquistadors and Christopher Columbus sailed over here, they had the Pilgrims and all that. They sailed over here with the Nina, the Maria, the Santa, the Pinta, and all them, right? They came over here and they did that to our brothers in the year 1492. And then guess what? 200 years later, in the year 1619, they went to the west coast of Africa. And they also took us and brought us over here as well. Now, are you familiar with that history? Now, you see, these are important things that they don't tell you. Because guess what? If we made the mental connection that the blacks and Hispanics went through the same thing, then we will probably assume that we're the same people. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why we went through those things? Have you ever wondered? I've always wondered. I'm 43, and I've always wondered, why did we go into slavery? Why did they choose us? What did we do to deserve to go into slavery? Did you know that that history is found in the Bible? How did you know that? You're a daily Bible reader. Okay, so let me ask you this. I don't want to make it seem like I'm quizzing you, right? But where can I find that history? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to some specifics to show to you that without a doubt that this is Bible prophecy and why it happened to us. All right.
Bring it out.
Give me that in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Watch this. Go to 15.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So it said that if we don't listen and observe to do all the commandments of God, that there was going to be some curses that come upon us. Now, you're wise, young brother. Is a curse a good thing or a bad thing? It's a bad thing, no matter. We don't have people. Hold on. Brother Nathaniel, you won't believe the amount of people who have come up, and when we ask them that, is a curse a good thing and a bad thing, we get, well, it depends on how you look at it, right? It doesn't matter which way you chop it up, a cursing is a bad thing, right? Okay, now, it says if we didn't hearken to do the commandments of the Lord our God. Let's read it for the brother again, one more time.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
It said, if we don't hearken. What does it mean to hearken, young brother?
I don't know.
The word hearken means to listen with the intention of doing. So, like, say, for instance, your mother tell you, take your butt in the room and clean it up. If you hearkened to your mother, you did what? You went in your room and you cleaned it. If you did not hearken, what happened? You got in trouble, right? So when it says, if you will not hearken, read.
Unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments.
It said to do what?
All his commandments.
So you following me so far. Keep reading, finish it out.
And his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Now jump to verse 68. Watch this. I'm going to show you something, brother. Because how did we get over here in America? Well, okay, so did we come on, I'm asking you, did we come over here on a plane? Did we come over here in a car? Did we come over here on spaceships? What do historically they tell you how black people got into America?
Historically, they don't really tell us how we got here.
Okay. Well, when you look at this book, when you look at this sign right here, right? When you look at this sign right here, right? You see, what do you see here, young brother? They're ships, right? But what kind of ships, young brother?
It look like the ancient ships.
But you see the people stacked on top of each other, sitting nut the butt. You see they got them packed in like sardines.
Yeah.
What kind of ship is that, young brother? You don't have a clue? Those are slave ships, brother. Those are slave ships. This is a history. Have you ever seen the movie? You can sit down, officer. Have you ever seen the movie 12 Years a Slave? Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Othello? No? Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Roots? Okay. Now, in the beginning of Roots, they go to the west coast of Africa and they bring the people on slave ships. Now, watch this. We're going to read something to you, and I want you to follow along. Read it.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with...
Hold on. It said that the Lord would do it. Did you hear that? It said that the Lord, because remember in 15 it said, if you will not do all my commandments, then these curses is going to come to you. This is one of the curses. Read it from the top.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Now it said that the Lord will bring us into Egypt again with ships. Now you say you're a daily Bible reader, right? Now in the book of Exodus, What did God tell Moses to go and do? To do what? But to who? Who did Moses go and give the commandments to? Okay, now did Moses part the Red Sea? And who did he part the Red Sea for? His people, who are who? The who? They were slaves in where? They were slaves in Egypt, young brother. Moses went to go, God told Moses to go tell Pharaoh to let my people go because they were serving in slavery. Are you familiar now? And then he parted the Red Sea. God put a bunch of plagues on Egypt, right? And then he parted the Red Sea and he freed the people, right? Now then he gave them commandments. You understand that? Now at this point, right? This is where we're at right now in the story. He's giving them the commandments. But it said that he was going to bring, he's the Lord that brought us out of the land of Egypt. Now, Egypt is synonymous with something. And I want to show it to you. Give me that in Exodus. Watch this.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
He said he brought us out of the land of Egypt. Read.
Out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of what?
Of bondage.
The house of what?
Bondage.
Now, young brother, what does the word bondage mean? You're being held captive, right? Or you've been enslaved, right? So Egypt is synonymous with what? Slavery. Okay, now let's go back to Deuteronomy 28:68. We're going to read it again.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now we're going to replace Egypt with what word? Slavery, right? Now think that in your minds. Read it again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt
slavery
again with ships.
Who are winning the slavery on slave ships, young brother? Who? All our people, right? Keep reading.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
Meaning the way that Moses said it was going to happen, because they're from Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 68, there's blessings and curses. 15 on down is the curses. You understand that? In order for a person to say that they're the children of God, they have to fit all those curses. You understand that? That's why he says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, read.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
Now, have we ever seen our motherland again? Which, if we come from Africa, have you ever been there? Me neither. Have your ancestors been there? Have your parents been there? They've been there, but they did it on a travel, right? But let me ask you this. Has anybody from Africa ever came and said, give my people back? I didn't tell y'all can kill them. I didn't say that y'all can hang them. I didn't say that y'all can burn them and feed their babies. Has anybody ever done that? Of course not. We've been stuck here for over 500 years. You understand that? We never went back to Africa. Keep reading.
And there.
Once we got off the slave ship, once we got to the place where he was going to send us as slaves, what's going to happen?
Ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Now, I want you to look down at these images, young brother. You see that? That is a coupon for a Negro. You understand that? That is a coupon to buy a Negro. Guess what? Because back in the slavery days, you were able to buy a black or Hispanic man like you could go to Walmart and buy a toaster or a loaf of bread. You understand that? Or buying a car or a house. You see that? And then they got them standing here on auction blocks. Look at that. They got a man, a woman, and their children. And guess what they're going to do, young brother? They're going to what? They're going to sell them. But do you think they're going to sell them as a whole family? They're going to separate the families, young brother. And this is actual history. It said that we're going to be sold where?
Unto your enemies. For bondmen.
For slave men.
And bond women.
And for bond women. Meaning slave men and slave women. Read.
And no man shall buy you.
Meaning no man is going to save you, like I asked. Has anybody from Africa ever came over here and said, let my people go, like Moses did to the Israelites all them many thousands of years ago? Of course not. That's because the Most High God did that to us. And I'm going to go back to my original scripture. Why did the Most High God make that happen? Why did the Lord send an enemy against us that put us in slavery? We're going to go back to 15.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So the question is, why did the Most High God allow this to happen? Because we didn't keep the commandments, young brother.
That's right.
We did not keep the commandments, young brother. Go to 46.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee.
We're talking about the curses. The curses.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So it says that the curses will be upon us for a sign and for a wonder. Let me ask you, young brother, what does a sign do? It points directions, right? What else does it do? It helps you find a way, gives you directions, right? It also lets you know, say for instance, right? I know that that's a pawn shop because it has a sign saying that that's a pawn shop, right? It identifies things. So not only does it point the way, but it's also going to identify something. So now these curses, it said that these curses, read it again.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
So the curses are going to be upon the Israelites for a sign
and for a wonder.
And if you, just like you said, you always wonder, right? Read.
And upon thy seed forever.
And guess what? We go through these things because we can't get out of these curses unless God is the one who does it. You understand that? Are you following me so far? So these signs point you in a direction. In order for me to find who the Israelites are today, all I have to do is find out who is going through these curses. You follow me? Now watch this. That's the devil. Now watch this. A lot of these things happen to us because we did not keep God's commandments. We did not keep God's commandments. And he allowed an enemy to come upon us and take our heritage. Give me that in Jeremiah 17:4. And then I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you because, look, you can go to work, right? I don't want to stop you from going to work because it's a commandment that a man has to work. You understand that? But I also want you to know the importance of what's going on right here. We didn't come out here for just anybody. If we came out here just for you, then our job is done. You understand that? Read that.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee.
He told the Israelite, well, he told Jeremiah, right, who's an Israelite, that he's going to discontinue from the heritage that he gave. The heritage didn't just belong to one man. He gave it to the Israelites. You understand that? And guess what? We all were discontinued from our heritage. Because guess what? All of us went into shackles and chains. And watch, the Bible is going to say it. Read.
And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not.
You see that? The Bible says that the Israelites, they would go into slavery. They would discontinue from their heritage and serve another nation of people in a land that they don't know. Were we allowed to keep our heritage? No, because guess what? What do we call ourselves today? To go back to that first sign that I asked you about. We call ourselves African American, black, colored. All those, look, black is a color in the crayon box. You understand that? I'm not from the land of Crayola. Are you from the land of Crayola? Does the land of Crayola exist, young brother? Of course not. So I can't be a color, right? They call us the word colored, right? Is that necessarily true? Because guess what? There's a white man walking around here, his skin turns red, you beat him up, he gets black and purple. Who's more colored? Me or him? You understand that? So those are not our God-given names. You understand that? That's how we know our heritage was lost. Now my question to you, young brother, if the Most High God did all of these things because we did not keep his commandments, we went into slavery. I will turn our captivity 8:30. If we did all of these things, if we went through slavery, single-parent household, drugs filling our community, gang banging, who fill up the prisons? Our people, right? Blacks and Hispanics. Our people fill up the prisons and stuff, right? All of those things are set up to keep you down. You understand that? Now, if breaking God's commandments brought all these terrible things upon us, how do we get out of these things? By keeping God's commandments. You see
That's
that?
right.
Was that hard to understand? And watch this. That's a promise from God. Watch this. Read that.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse.
Now, he said, after all these things, it's going to come to pass, whether if you keep the blessings, I'm going to bless you like I said I would, or if you don't listen to what I said and you get cursed like I said you would. Read it.
Which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations.
He said, and if you call it to mind among all the nations, because guess what? When we look at the slave trade, right? When we look at the slave trade, right? We didn't just come to America. You see this? We came from the west coast of Africa. We landed in South America. We landed in Cuba. We landed in North America. We even went to places like Arabia, Europe, Russia, China, Ethiopia. You understand that? So he said, we got to call, you can sit it down, officer. He said, we have to call these things to remembrance. Read that part again.
And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations.
Wherever we were sent during the slave trades. Read.
Whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee. And shall return unto the Lord thy God.
It says, so we have to return unto the Lord thy God. Now let me ask you this. We're going to hold that. Stay right there. Mm-hmm. When it says we have to return to the Lord thy God, our people fill up the church every Sunday, right? But has it made any difference in our community? Be honest. Because guess what? Every time you find a church on the corner, you can find drugs, prostitution, gang banging, right? So something must not be right about the churches. It must be something that they're not teaching in the churches, right? Because if that's the case, as much as our people fill up the churches, we should have been got that captivity turned. You understand that? But it's not happening because we're not being taught properly. Read that. Keep reading. No, keep stay where you at.
Verse 2, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day.
How do you think we have to obey his voice, young bro? Daniel. By reading the Bible, right? And then what? Okay, re-educating, meaning relearning, right? Because if you thought you knew, right, you have to go and relearn again, right? But then there's something you have to do. What is that? We said it already. Keep his. Okay, keep reading.
And shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will...
He said, and then, once you remember, once you call to mind all these things that happened to us, right? Like we're calling it to your mind right now, right? You understand that these things are actual history and that they actually took place after we call them to mind, right? We call to mind that, hey, look, we went into these things because we broke God's commandments, right? Read.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
It says, then, not until then will the Lord turn our captivity. So now let me ask you something, young brother. When something turns, right? Say for instance, I'm looking at a mirror, right? Does the mirror, some mirrors do, but for the most part, do mirrors have a reflection on both sides? No, they have one on one side. So if the mirror is pointed at you, you can see yourself, right? But if I turn the mirror, right, are you still able to see yourself? Right, because guess what? That mirror is now turned. Now say for instance, these curses, they're pointed at you, right? If the Bible says that he would turn them, that means are the curses going to still be pointed at you? They're going to be pointed at somebody else, right? And that's what he's talking about, brother. Because guess what? All of these things that we went through, all of these things is justice with God for those things that happened to the people who did it to you.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone, 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.